a clay pipe.
It is a clay pipe,
Yeah,
okay.
we find a lot of these on the Thames.
you?
I found quite a lot this morning. It's still full of mud. Very often when these dry out, when the mud dries out, you tap out the mud. At the very bottom, you'll find a little bit of tobacco, original tobacco. And I have managed to extract enough tobacco from the old mud to make a little roll up and light it. I didn't smoke it.
I hope you didn't.
But light it, and you could actually smell history.
Virgin Radio.
We've been discussing the newfound popularity, for some anyway, of mudlarking, which is kind of scavenging the shores of rivers for items of historical interest or value. And Lara Maiklem's debut book has propelled mudlarking into popular consciousness. And she's got another one out. It's called A Mudlarking Year. Welcome. It's lovely to see you, Lara. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
The one reason I like that there's cameras on radio nowadays is that on a day like today, when I'm talking to somebody like you have items that you found on the riverbed. And this story, our conversation, can apply to so many people all over the world, because where there's water, there's a story.
That absolutely is. Can I just say I'm horrified there are cameras in here? Because,
You weren't expecting that, were you?
No, I wasn't, because I've just come off the foreshore.
That's
and
okay.
I look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards as usual. But
Not at all. I would say this is authenticity itself.
Okay.
So it's great. You've just come out from the shore and you're armed with material for it. But tell us what mudlarking is. Who does it and why and where?
I will, yes. So mudlarking is basically searching a river or riverbed for objects that have been lost or thrown away, historical objects usually, but also modern objects as well, because rivers are busy places. People swim on them, they travel on them and live beside them. Most cities and villages even have got a river in them.
Yeah.
They're also used as dumps. Before we had the bin men came and took our rubbish away and conveniently got rid of it without us knowing where it went, people would use rivers to throw their rubbish into.
Yes.
So if you go down to most rivers, even tiny streams, you'll probably find little bits of pottery or bottles or things like that. But of course, in London, we have the Great Thames.
Yes.
And it has been, people have been living on that for 2,000 years plus and losing their things in it and throwing their things in it. And it's tidal. And that's what makes the Thames so absolutely perfect for mudlarking, because twice a day, we get to search the riverbed for the objects that have been lost over time.
And your initial book, when that came out, I think you probably started a big trend, because there was about 200 people were doing this officially, and now there's over 500 people doing it, because you've kind of set this trend because people just like the sound. What's the attraction? What's drawing people to do such a thing?
Well, I mean, I've been doing it for 20 years, over 20 years now, and it has become an obsession for me, because I suppose it's a little bit like a lucky dip. You never know what you're going to find. Every tide will leave something different behind. There's mysteries down there. There's that potential of finding something fascinating, or even something that could change our idea of history. I should say that you're never going to get rich from mudlarking.
Yes. It's a hobby.
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
You have to have a permit to do it, and there isn't loads of gold and silver and stuff like that. Most of the stuff we find is not worth anything, but it's fascinating. It's invaluable in what it can teach us about the past.
It is the essence of nerd. It is so beautiful. I love it. No, really, I speak this language. I love that you do this, and you've brought some bits and pieces, and forgive that that's not meant to be pejorative, but you've brought some things that what you found yourself, or are they? How would you describe the even the word I can't find for this?
Do you know, I would say this is this morning's offerings, because...
This is from today alone?
This is from today. I've come straight from the river because low tide was at 10:28.
You've had a busy morning. You've got about 6 or 7 pieces here.
This is just a fraction of what I found today. So these are the bigger things. So, I've had a great morning, actually. It's a good tide today. It's gone fairly low.
Great.
And, it just goes to prove I don't dig and I don't use a metal detector. And I just pick things up off the surface.
You're physically walking along, as you were this morning,
yes,
with your hands in the sand going, that looks interesting, that looks interesting.
Yeah, sometimes I kneel down.
Yeah.
Mostly I walk with sort of bent double.
Yeah.
And just sort of looking for anything that doesn't fit, doesn't quite look right, and I'm picking it up off the surface.
We'll combine the audio and the visual by asking you to pick up the knife, which is really interesting, and you can show it to that camera there, and we can describe to our listeners what we're looking at here. Yeah.
Where's the camera? There's
that
there.
One, exactly.
Okay, so I found this morning. It's got a bone handle, and it's got a blade as well. I think it's probably a 17th century knife.
Okay.
It's got what's called a rat tail tang. which is the bit that goes into the
handle, yeah.
handle. And somewhere on there, it might even have a cutler's mark, which will be the mark of the person who made it, which will tell us a little bit more about how old it is and where it was made. So yeah, that's
one.
one.
That's one.
That's one thing.
It looks like a pipe, but I'm sure I don't know what that is.
This is a clay pipe.
It is a clay pipe.
Yeah,
okay.
we find a lot of these on the Thames.
you?
I found quite a lot this morning. It's still full of mud. Very often when these dry out, when the mud dries out, you tap out the mud. At the very bottom, you'll find a little bit of tobacco, original tobacco. And I have managed to extract enough tobacco from the old mud to make a little roll up and light it. I didn't smoke it.
I hope you didn't.
But light it, and you could actually smell history.
Is
It was
that right?
the taverns and because this one is mid 1700s.
Okay.
So that smell of London, that because London would have absolutely reeked of tobacco because everybody smoked, and that's why there's so
Isn't
many
that
on the
brilliant?
foreshore.
Yeah, okay. And
One of
I
those.
love that idea of smelling the smoke from the streets. I mean, see, it's pre-Dickens by 100 years. I mean, this is
Absolutely.
absolutely different. And you saw two initials. You mentioned that. I thought that was...
Well, this is another knife handle. So I've done well with knife handles
Yeah.
this morning. This one's lovely. This one is, again, 1600s, and it's got someone's initials on it
Okay.
that I saw when I picked up, and it is DH. So at some point in the 17th century, DH lost his knife.
David Hasselhoff
David Hasselhoff.
lost his knife.
Lost his knife.
in the
He or
Thames.
she in the Thames, yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to point out?
I've got an old hammer, which
Okay.
is probably quite old. It's broken. That's probably why it got flung out. And a piece of Roman pottery
Good Lord.
and a piece of a Roman jug or flagon.
Okay,
handle.
so what do you do with this now after your days? This is your day's takings. You've been, I mean, you've got. God, it's so interesting. You're tiptoeing through so many different eras of story and history and time.
Well, absolutely. Each one of these tells a story of a forgotten Londoner. The person who made this, the person who broke it, the person who used this and carved their initials on. We'll never know who they are, but there they are. That's all they've left behind to say they were ever here. I don't want to be that old woman that my children have to dig out of her house. So I curate my collection very
As in a
carefully.
hoarder, yes.
Absolutely. I curate my collection very carefully, and out of this little lot, the things I will keep are the knives, definitely. That's probably it.
Not even the pipe.
No, I will probably take it home, photograph it, and I'll take it back because how many paleo pipes do you need? You know,
Okay.
I don't need buckets of them. I've already got quite a few.
Oh, they're common. When you say take it back, you put it back in the river?
I take it back to where I found it.
Okay.
Yeah, and leave it there.
Is that a respect thing, or is it just...
I just think things should go back to where they came from for someone else to find. Because I don't own any of that. I'm just the next. I'm the next person looking after it. You never really own an object, I don't think.
Were you ever tempted to be like a metal detector person? Were you ever tempted to be an archaeologist? Were you ever tempted to go somewhere different with this? Or was it always the...
This is very firmly my hobby. I have tried metal detecting twice. I just got a bit bored. It wasn't really my thing.
Yeah.
So I don't detect. It's my choice. I did archaeology my first year at university and failed it. So I never went back there. either.
Archaeology's lost. Mudlarking's gain. Here with Lara Maiklem, we're talking about her book, which is called A Mudlarking Year. It's her second book on this subject, and she very kindly has handed me not one but two pipes, one from the 17th century, one from the... Is that right?
That's right. One's from the 17th, one's from the 18th.
18th century, and they're beautiful pipes, which she said I can have to keep, which is pretty remarkable, because I might try them out in real life at the weekend and see where it takes me. I mean, you never know.
Well, bear in mind what goes in the river these days. I don't know if I put that anywhere near my mouth.
You may not be at work on Monday, but good luck with that. Lara, if somebody said mudlarking, can anyone be a mudlarker, or do you have to attune to the shore?
Well, I mean, I should say at first, you need a permit to mudlark on the tidal Thames from the Port of London Authority.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not handing out permits at the moment. They're assessing the situation, and I'm not sure what they're doing.
Yes.
Anyone can mudlark,
Yeah.
anyone. Really, it's beachcombing on rivers.
That's okay. That's perfect description.
Yeah, so you just need, what you need to do is check out. You need to relax. You're not going to find anything if you go down and look too hard, or if your head's full of your problems. Just relax, check out, and just look and take your time. And eventually things start jumping out at you. It takes time.
And how do you differentiate then between trash and treasure?
Very often you don't. That's the thing, sort of knowledge. You start to, you start to get a sense for what's old. You start to recognise objects that you see quite a lot of. I've got lots of knife handles. I know what they look like.
Yeah.
I've got lots of pipes. I know what they look like. But you'll always find something that you don't know what it is. It's worth taking home because I've always find something that needs a little bit more research.
Yes.
And it's a hobby in two parts. You know, there's a 5-6 hours I spend on the foreshore, and then there's the rest of the week I spend researching the objects that I find.
What's the joy? I mean, what's triggering joy in your mind when you do this? Because I can sense the enthusiasm and the love and the passion, but I'm just curious as to why that.
I think the foreshore for me is the place I go to escape. It always has been. You know, this is all icing on the cake for me. Getting some time away to myself down there is beautiful down there. You're in the middle of one of the busiest cities in the world, but you could be anywhere. And it's just calm, it's peaceful, it's relaxing. You're doing something and nothing. I'm not very good at switching off, but I can switch off if I'm doing something.
Yes.
And it just gives me a chance to go through my day, through my week, sort out my mind, and I come away from the foreshore much better. You're seeing me at my best, you
Yes.
see, because I've just come off the foreshore.
Yeah,
I come away a
You're
much
buzzing
nicer
from
person.
your foreshore.
I am buzzing.
I love that, but it's like anyone doing exercise, or you're describing for me like fishing, where I mightn't catch fish over 4 hours, but
Yeah.
I love being out there. It's meditative.
It's
really,
very
isn't it?
similar to fishing. Yeah, it is very similar.
Well, congratulations on A Mudlarking Year.
Thank you.
For coming to see us and for bringing in, as you said earlier yourselves, like make and do, but my goodness, it's a beautiful make and do, and you've described it a gorgeous hobby and one that takes you where you need to be. So good luck with it all.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you.
Thank
And that
you.
is our guest, Lara Maiklem. Today, our book is called A Mudlarking Year, Finding Treasure in Every Season. It's a beautiful piece of work.
Virgin Radio.